pivot away from pivoting into marketing. So take all of your pivot hat off and now just get back into thinking about your business. And we're going to start talking about marketing because it's something that we've talked about market research, but we haven't talked about marketing strategy. So remember how we've talked about who are your customers, we've talked about identifying segments, and you've done good research. Discovering that we have all of those fun categories of folks that we can imagine, the country squire, and you remember, yes, you're looking blankly at me as if you have forgotten everything. But here's something we haven't talked about, which is how to qualify those customers and how to think about them. And when you're talking about marketing, it's important to know whether you're thinking about somebody who is going to use your product specifically. So a knitter is a user, or is your customer actually a beneficiary? Are they somebody who is going to be gifted your product, but they aren't going to buy it? So they benefit from your product, but they're not the purchaser. So when you think about knitters, everyone who is a knitter who has a family member who wants to buy them a knitting bowl is not actually the customer. The person who got it was not the customer. So thinking about those different pieces of the pie is actually pretty, whoa. And then magically it came back. I think it's because there was beer on this slide. It blanked out, it got really confused because we're confused here in Berea. Do we have beer? Do we not have beer? So I'm going to tell a little story about a woman who was part of one of our Evolve classes in Colorado. And she was sort of a guest speaker, and she invented the glove, which is AG, as in silver, gloves. So these were one of the first gloves that actually had little metal devices within the fibers that allowed you to use your mobile phone with gloves on. So in the wintertime, you could tap and use, etc. So she and her daughter created this company, and when they first figured this out, they actually thought that their customer was the college student. They were in a college town, they were thinking about students, they were thinking about how students are always on their phones, and they thought that they should be marketing to their students. Until they discovered that students really just wanted to buy beer or flip-flops. Cheap things that they needed, beer that whether they needed it or not, that's what they were spending their money on. And it was actually the parents who were buying all of these gloves. And so their entire marketing strategy had been geared towards the students for these gloves, and it was the wrong customer completely. And so it wasn't working. They weren't getting traction, and no one wanted their gloves until they switched who the customer was. And they started marketing to parents, grandparents, and all of a sudden they were selling like crazy. And actually they sold their company for $5 million and, you know, retired and had a lovely life after that. They're still doing many, what is Danny?
You're good.
Okay. So figuring out who the actual buyer is actually pretty critical to figuring out what your marketing strategy is. So we may have been talking about how to segment in the big picture, but one thing to check along our way now is figuring out the motivation of your buyers. So now we're going to actually spend time figuring that out for each of you. So you're going to spend a few minutes reevaluating your buyers and your competition, thinking about who is your customer, who are you trying to serve, and making sure that you've got that clear. And then we're going to break into small groups and do some compare and contrast to try and figure out what assumptions we're making, what we might need to be switching up. And this is because you all are starting to know each other's products and businesses more and more. This is really important good feedback that you can give for each other. So take 5 minutes, write down what you think who you think your customer really is now that you've spent some more time thinking about who's buying and who's motivated to buy what you have. Think about your competition as well in that moment. And then we'll go ahead and break into groups.